My girlfriend's mom asked why we weren't engaged yet. She said, "What if someone better comes along?" I'm not ready to close the doors yet. I was walking upstairs and heard it all. So I removed my name from the lease and packed everything I bought. Then someone better came along. Her sister. Hey Reddit. 8 months ago, I overheard my girlfriend say she was keeping me around until she found someone better. She didn't know I was carrying groceries and a ring. Now I'm dating her sister. But hey, it's not what you're thinking. Let me rewind. I, 24 male, have been dating this girl Riley for almost 3 years. Things seemed solid. We had our own little routines, shared a decent 2-bedroom apartment where we split everything down the middle, and she knew my Netflix password. You know, real relationship stuff. I'd been secretly saving up for an engagement ring, checking out jewelry stores during my lunch breaks, like some kind of covert ops mission. That Saturday started normal as hell. Riley texted me asking if I could grab groceries on my way back from the gym since she was dealing with some work crisis. No big deal. I'd done the same grocery run probably 50 times before. Trader Joe's, get the fancy almond milk she likes. Those weird protein bars that taste like cardboard, but apparently help her metabolism, and whatever else was on the list she sent. Our apartment was this second-floor walk-up in a decent part of town. The rent was reasonable, and we'd split it 50-50 for the past 2 years. Both our names on the lease, joint responsibility, the whole adult thing. I'm hauling these overstuffed paper bags up the stairs. Seriously, why do they make those things so flimsy? When I hear voices coming from inside. The front door was cracked open maybe 2 inches. Not unusual, Riley sometimes left it open when she was expecting me. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop or anything, just pausing to readjust my grip on the bags before I walked in. That's when I heard her mom Karen's voice, sharp and demanding like always. So why hasn't he proposed yet? You two have been together forever. David keeps asking me the same thing. My heart actually did that thing where it skips a beat. I was thinking the same thing, honestly. Not why I hadn't proposed, but how I was gonna do it. I'd been researching ring styles, figuring out her size, the whole 9 yards. For a split second I'm smiling, thinking maybe this conversation would give me some intel. Then Riley answered, and it was like someone dumped ice water on me. I'm not ready to close the doors yet. What if someone better comes along? No hesitation. No nervous laugh. Just matter of fact, like she was discussing what to have for dinner. The silence after that felt like it lasted forever, but it was probably only a few seconds. But then Karen's response hit me like a truck. Smart girl. Never settle, honey. You're beautiful, you're young, you have options. Don't let him pressure you into anything. They just moved on to talking about some Netflix show, like they hadn't just nuked our entire relationship. No pushback from Karen about leading me on. No concern about wasting 3 years of my life. Just pure encouragement to keep me as a backup plan. I'm standing there holding groceries I just spent $30 on, feeling like the world's biggest chump. This wasn't some hypothetical conversation about celebrities or whatever. This was her mom asking a direct question about marriage, and my girlfriend essentially saying I was a placeholder until her upgrade arrived, with mom's full blessing. 3 years of my life, and I was basically their family's consolation prize. I didn't storm in. I didn't drop the bags and cause a scene. I walked in quietly, like nothing happened. Riley was on the couch scrolling Instagram. Karen was puttering around the kitchen, humming some song from the 80s, like she owned the place. Hey babe, Riley said without looking up from her phone. Did you get the quinoa? Yeah, everything's on the list. I set the bags on the counter and made small talk with Karen for maybe 10 minutes. She was going on about some drama at her book club, how the other women were jealous of something or other. Asked about work, nodded at the right times, played the good boyfriend one last time. Then I said I had to run some errands and kissed Riley on the forehead like always. But instead of errands, I drove straight to our property management office. Saturday afternoon, but they had weekend hours for emergencies. This definitely qualified. I need to remove my name from a lease, I told the lady at the desk. She pulled up our file. Joint lease, both parties responsible, standard stuff. But here's the thing about most rental agreements. Either party can terminate their portion with 30 days notice if the other party agrees to assume full responsibility. All I needed was Riley's signature. I called Riley from the parking lot. Hey, quick question. I'm thinking about making some changes to our lease paperwork. Can you come down to the office real quick? Just some boring admin stuff. She showed up 20 minutes later, slightly annoyed, but not suspicious. I'd printed out the forms and highlighted where she needed to sign. Made it sound like we were updating emergency contacts or something. What's this actually for? She asked, scanning the document. Just cleaning up the paperwork. Making sure everything's current. She signed without reading it properly. Why would she? We'd been together 3 years, shared everything, and trusted each other completely. Well, one of us did. The property manager processed the paperwork immediately. As of that moment, Riley was solely responsible for the $1,200 monthly rent. I was free and clear. Phase 2 started Monday morning. Riley had already left for work. She always got to the office early on Mondays for their team meetings. Perfect timing. I called in a personal day and spent hours systematically removing everything I'd paid for from our apartment. The 65-inch TV I'd bought last year. The entire gaming setup. The nice couch we'd picked out together but I'd put on my credit card. The coffee maker, the air fryer, half the kitchen stuff. I called Dylan around noon while loading boxes into my car. Hey man, I need to crash at your place for a while. Long story? Let me guess. Riley finally showed her true colors? Dylan, not now. I'm bringing food. That's gonna be fun, he said, sounding a bit too happy. He showed up 40 minutes later with his pickup truck and a bag of beef jerky, ready for action. Dude didn't even ask for details. Just started hauling my stuff like we were running some kind of military operation. Bro, you're taking the PlayStation but leaving the fancy throw pillows? He said, carrying my gaming chair down the stairs. That's cold. I respect it, but it's cold. When we got to the bedroom and I started packing clothes, Dylan spotted the little velvet ring box I'd hidden in my sock drawer. Oh shit, you were actually gonna marry this chick. He held up the box like it was contaminated. Dude, dodged a bullet so hard you basically became Neo. Just throw it in the box, I muttered. But Dylan was on a roll. By Tuesday evening, I was completely moved out. Crashed at Dylan's place with my stuff in storage. So what's the plan now? Dylan asked, cracking open a drink. You gonna start dating her mom just to really mess with her head? Shut up, Dylan. Riley didn't notice anything until Wednesday night. She spent a day at her parents' house because her mom needed help with some things, whatever. That's when my phone started blowing up. Where the hell is the TV? Dylan was sitting right next to me when the first text came through. He read it over my shoulder and nearly choked on his drink. Oh man, this is better than Netflix. Then, did someone break in? Half our stuff is gone. Then, oh my god, are you kidding me right now? Where the hell is the air fryer? Dylan grabbed my phone and sent, we left the bed, enjoy. I snatched the phone back and responded, took my stuff. Check the lease paperwork you signed on Saturday. Dylan insisted we order Chinese food and watch the meltdown in real time. My phone rang 6 times in the next hour. We let every call go to voicemail, while Dylan provided running commentary. $5 says the next message mentions her feelings, he said. $10 says she starts with, how could you do this to me? The voicemail was epic. Started with confusion, moved through anger, and ended with the realization that she was now on the hook for full rent in a place she couldn't afford alone. Dylan made me play it twice. Dude, that's pure poetry right there. Riley's financial situation was about to get very real, very fast. See, we'd chosen that apartment specifically because splitting $1,200 meant we each paid $600. Totally manageable on our salaries. But Riley's job as a marketing coordinator at some startup paid maybe $35,000 a year. After taxes, health insurance, and her student loans, she was looking at barely $2,100 take-home monthly. The math was simple and brutal. Rent alone would eat up more than half her income. Add utilities, groceries, car payment, and all the other adult expenses. She was looking at financial stress on a level she'd never experienced. My phone kept buzzing with increasingly desperate messages. First came the anger. You can't just abandon the lease. This is my home too. Then bargaining. Can we talk about this like adults? Maybe you can pay half rent until I find a roommate. Then reality set in. I can't afford this place alone. You know I can't afford this place alone. But the real fun started when Karen got involved. She called me Thursday evening, and I could tell she was real pissed before she even started talking. We need to discuss what you've done to Riley, she said, like I was a misbehaving teenager she was about to ground. Dylan was making dinner when Karen called, but he dropped everything to listen to my side of the conversation. Started making exaggerated hand gestures, mimicking someone complaining, complete with the, can I speak to your manager finger point. I removed my name from our lease, I explained. Riley signed the paperwork agreeing to take over full responsibility. Everything's legal and documented. You're being completely unreasonable, she snapped. Riley made one innocent comment, and you're destroying her life over it. She didn't mean anything by what she said to me. Girls say things they don't mean all the time. There it was. Karen knew exactly what I'd overheard, and she was trying to gaslight me into thinking it didn't matter. An innocent comment about waiting for someone better while her boyfriend was shopping for engagement rings. If it was so innocent, why didn't you tell her she was wrong? I asked. Long pause. Then, Riley is young and smart and beautiful. She shouldn't have to settle just because you're insecure about her having options. The conversation went downhill from there. Karen accused me of being vindictive and cruel for leaving Riley stranded. She suggested I was intimidated by Riley's success and looks, which was rich considering Riley made less money than me, and I'd been planning to propose. You're going to regret this, she said before hanging up. Riley will find someone who appreciates what he has, and you'll realize what you threw away. Dylan waited exactly 3 seconds after I hung up before starting his commentary. Bro, did that woman just threaten you with Riley's dating life? That's like threatening someone with a participation trophy. You'll regret giving up my mediocre daughter who treats you like garbage. I was still processing that conversation when my phone rang again an hour later. This time it was Riley's dad, David. Hey son, he said, which caught me off guard. David had always called me son from pretty early in the relationship, but hearing it now felt different. Dylan perked up when he heard David's voice. He'd always liked David. They'd bonded over football and dad jokes at family gatherings. I heard about what happened, he continued. Karen told me her version. Riley told me hers. Now I want to hear yours. So I told him everything. The conversation I'd overheard, the lease situation, Karen's phone call. David listened without interrupting, which was more than I could say for the women in his family. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. I'm disappointed, he said finally. In them. Turns out David had been wondering for months why I hadn't proposed yet. He'd actually been ready to have the "what are your intentions" conversation with me because he could see I was serious about Riley. Hearing that she'd been keeping her options open while I was shopping for rings, that didn't sit well with him. Karen's always babied Riley, he said. Made her think she's some kind of princess who deserves the world without giving anything back. I've been watching you bust your ass for 3 years trying to make my daughter happy, and this is how they repay you. David gets it, Dylan whispered. The relief I felt was incredible. At least one person in that family understood reality. Riley's upset about the apartment situation, David continued. But maybe dealing with some real consequences will teach her about treating people with respect. You did nothing wrong, and don't let anyone tell you differently. After I hung up, Dylan was grinning like an idiot. Dude, you just got dad approval for dumping his daughter. That's next level respect right there. David's probably been waiting years for someone to call Riley on her BS. The next few weeks were fascinating to watch from a distance. Riley tried everything to fix her situation, and nothing worked. Meanwhile, Karen was waging a full-scale PR campaign to paint me as the villain. Dylan made popcorn every time my phone buzzed with updates from the Family Drama Network. He'd set up camp on his couch like we were watching a reality show marathon. First, Riley attempted to find a roommate, posted on Facebook, Craigslist, those roommate finder apps. But here's the thing. Our apartment was set up for a couple, not random roommates. One bedroom was way bigger and had the master bathroom. The second bedroom was barely big enough for a full-size bed. Plus, Riley was picky as hell about who she'd live with, and Karen was making it worse. Let me get this straight, Dylan said when I told him about Riley's roommate troubles. She wants someone to pay $600 to live in a closet while Princess Riley keeps the master suite? And her mom's conducting job interviews for potential roommates? That's not finding a roommate, that's hiring domestic help. Karen would show up to help interview potential roommates, asking invasive questions about their jobs, backgrounds, and personal lives. She scared off half the decent candidates by acting like she was hiring a personal assistant instead of finding Riley a roommate. Riley had a few people come look at the place, but nobody wanted to pay $600 plus to live in what was essentially a glorified closet, while Riley got the master suite and her mom conducted random inspections. Then came Karen's next brilliant idea. She started calling mutual friends and family members to explain how poorly I was treating Riley. She'd call them up with this whole sob story about how I'd abandoned Riley and left her financially struggling. He just disappeared one day and took everything, she'd tell people. Poor Riley came home to an empty apartment and a massive rent bill. It's cruel and vindictive. Dylan intercepted one of these calls when Karen tried to reach my buddy Jake through his mom. Jake called Dylan first because he knew we were roommates now. Dude, Riley's mom called my mom trying to get the whole neighborhood to turn against your boy, Jake told Dylan. My mom was like, that boy has been nothing but respectful for 3 years? What's the real story here? Dylan immediately called me at work. Bro, Karen's running a smear campaign and it's backfiring hard. Jake's mom basically told her to pound sand. Apparently Karen came off like a crazy person. Karen had overplayed her hand. People who actually knew me weren't buying her version of events, and her over-the-top reaction made it obvious there was more to the story. Meanwhile, David was dealing with the fallout at home. He told me later that he had to shut Karen down multiple times when she started planning to show up at my workplace to confront me about what I'd done to Riley. Dylan's response when I told him about Karen's workplace ambush plans: "Please tell me she actually tries it. I want to see security escort a suburban mom off the premises while she's screaming about lease agreements. That would make my whole year." I told her if she wanted to embarrass herself that badly, she could do it without dragging our family name through the mud, David said. Riley tried negotiating with the landlord next, begged them to let her break the lease early or find a smaller unit in the same complex. But the property management company wasn't running a charity. She'd signed paperwork taking full responsibility, and they were holding her to it. Karen showed up to that meeting too, demanding to speak to a manager and threatening legal action. The property manager calmly explained that everything had been done legally and documented properly. Karen's response was to accuse them of discriminating against a young woman and threatened to report them to various authorities. Dylan was crying and laughing when I told him this story. She tried to Karen a property management company? Those people deal with crazy tenants for a living. That's like trying to out-crazy a customer service rep. They've seen it all. By month 2, Riley was seriously considering moving back in with her parents. Karen was encouraging this, of course, because it meant she could continue controlling Riley's life. But David put his foot down. "You made your choice," he told Riley during one of their family meetings. "You treated a good man like he was disposable. If you move back home, you're going to follow our rules and show some respect for the people who actually care about you." Then, things got really interesting. While Riley was dealing with her financial crisis and Karen was plotting my social destruction, something unexpected started happening. Riley's younger sister Chloe reached out to me. Chloe was about 21, worked as a graphic designer, and had always been the quieter one in the family. Where Riley was loud and social, Chloe was more observant. She'd make these dry comments during family dinners that were actually pretty funny, but usually got overlooked because Riley dominated conversations, and Karen treated her like the less important daughter. About 6 weeks after I'd moved out, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. "Hey, it's Chloe, Riley's sister. Heard about what happened through the Family Drama Network. That was some next-level chess move with the lease thing. Respect?" I was surprised she even had my number, but apparently Riley had given it to her years ago for some family emergency contact thing. What surprised me more was that she reached out at all. Dylan was on the couch playing video games when I got Chloe's text. I showed him the message and he immediately paused his game. "Hold up. The sister? The hot one who barely talks at family dinners?" Dylan grinned. "Bro, this is about to get spicy." "Your sister's probably not happy with me right now," I texted back. "My sister's learning that actions have consequences. She's also currently eating cereal for dinner because she spent too much money on a new outfit last week. So the lesson's really sinking in. Mom's having a meltdown about it daily." Dylan read the exchange over my shoulder. Damn, I like her already. We ended up texting back and forth. Just casual conversation. But Chloe had this way of cutting through nonsense that I found refreshing. She didn't pretend the situation wasn't messy or try to play peacemaker. She just acknowledged reality. "Riley always treated you like her personal assistant," she texted one day. "Someone to handle the boring stuff while she focused on more important things. I never got why you put up with it." Mom encouraged it too. We started meeting occasionally. She had this way of listening that Riley never did, actually paying attention instead of just waiting for her turn to talk. She was funny too, in a low-key, sarcastic way that I found way more appealing than Riley's constant need to be the center of attention. "So what's your plan now?" she asked during one of our coffee meetings. "Buy a white cat and practice your villain laugh." Dylan thought this was hilarious when I told him. Most people are scared to joke about the whole situation, and she's just roasting you for it. Wife material right there. I wasn't looking for anything romantic. Honestly, I was still processing the whole Riley situation and wasn't ready to trust anyone new. But Chloe was easy to be around. She didn't make everything about drama or feelings or where things were going. We just hung out like normal people. After a couple months of casual friendship, I realized something had shifted. I looked forward to seeing her. Not just as a distraction from Riley stuff, but because I genuinely enjoyed her company. She made me laugh. She remembered random things I mentioned in passing. She treated me like someone worth listening to. Dylan noticed the change before I did. I was getting ready for another date with Chloe when he called me out. "Bro, you're catching feelings for the sister, aren't you?" "We're just friends," I said, which was true at the time. "Right, and I'm just friends with my Xbox. Face it, dude. You're into her. And honestly, good. She seems cool. Plus, Imagine Karen's face when she realizes you're dating the daughter she actually ignored. That's not why I'm not saying that's why you like her. I'm saying it's going to be hilarious when it happens. Sometimes the universe just hands you perfect irony, and you gotta appreciate it. But then Karen found out about us hanging out, and all hell broke loose. The first sign was Riley calling me at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday, and I could hear the hysteria in her voice before she even started yelling. "Are you seriously hanging out with my sister right now?" Dylan was in the kitchen getting a late-night snack when my phone rang. He heard Riley's voice through the speaker, and immediately started making frantic, abort mission hand signals. "We're friends," I said, which was technically true at the time. "Friends? You destroy my life and then move on to my sister like we're some kind of game to you?" Dylan was now silently applauding Riley's meltdown while eating cereal straight from the box. But Riley's reaction was nothing compared to Karen's nuclear meltdown. She called me the next day and went completely unhinged. "How dare you manipulate Chloe into this twisted revenge plot?" she screamed. "You're using her to get back at Riley, and I won't stand for it." "Nobody's using anybody," I said. "Chloe is an adult who can make her own decisions. Chloe has always been jealous of Riley. She's not smart enough to see you're just using her. When you get bored of your little revenge fantasy, you'll throw her away too." That crossed a line. Karen had always favored Riley, but hearing her talk about Chloe like she was some desperate, stupid girl who couldn't think for herself, that was disgusting. "Chloe is twice the person Riley is," I said. "Maybe if you'd paid attention to your younger daughter instead of enabling Riley's princess complex, you'd know that." Karen's response was to threaten me. She was going to call my job, my friends, my family. She was going to make sure everyone knew what kind of person I really was. She'd destroy my reputation the same way I'd destroyed Riley's life. "You picked the wrong family to mess with," she said, before hanging up. I immediately called David to give him a heads up about Karen's threats. His response was not what I expected. "I'll handle Karen," he said, and his voice had this edge I'd never heard before. "And I think it's great that you and Chloe are spending time together. She's a good kid." Dylan was doing victory laps around the living room when I told him about David's response. "David's about to go full dad mode on Karen. This is going to be epic. $20 says he shuts down her whole operation before she can make a single phone call." Turns out David had been watching Karen's favoritism toward Riley for years, and he was done enabling it. Karen's campaign against me and Chloe escalated to levels that would make reality TV producers jealous. She started by trying to turn the extended family against us, calling aunts, uncles, and cousins with her version of events. Dylan set up a whole information network to track Karen's movements. His girlfriend knew Riley from college, Jake's sister worked with one of Riley's friends, and somehow Dylan had intel on everything. "Bro, Karen called your aunt trying to get her to talk sense into you," Dylan reported one evening. "Your aunt apparently told her that you're a grown man who can date whoever he wants, and maybe Karen should focus on why both her daughters are having relationship problems." Karen conveniently painted herself as the protective mother trying to save both her daughters from my evil influence. She claimed I was playing some long game to hurt the whole family, using Chloe as a weapon against Riley. The problem with Karen's strategy was that she underestimated both David and Chloe. David shut her down hard during one of their family dinners. Chloe told me about it later, and I told Dylan, who immediately demanded a full play-by-play. "Enough," David had said when Karen started ranting about my manipulation tactics again. "You want to know what really happened? Riley treated that boy like garbage for 3 years while he bent over backward trying to make her happy. She told you to your face that she was keeping her options open, and you encouraged it. Now he's found someone who actually appreciates him, and you can't stand that it's Chloe instead of Riley." Karen tried to interrupt, but David wasn't having it. "You've spent 21 years treating Chloe like she's Riley's consolation prize sister. Now a good man sees what you've been too blind to notice, and instead of being happy for her, you're making it about Riley's feelings. It's pathetic." Riley apparently started crying and ran to her room. Karen accused David of being cruel and not supporting their daughter during a difficult time. His response was perfect. "I'm supporting the daughter who deserves it, the one who treats people with respect, and doesn't think the world owes her everything." Meanwhile, Chloe was dealing with Karen's direct attacks. Karen would show up at Chloe's apartment unannounced, demanding to know what I'd said about Riley and whether I was turning her against the family. "She keeps asking if you've been feeding me lies about Riley," Chloe told me during one of our dates. "Like I haven't been watching Riley treat you like hired help for 3 years with my own eyes." Karen's next move was to recruit Riley's friends for an intervention. They showed up at Chloe's workplace to talk sense into her about dating her sister's ex. But Chloe handled it like a boss. The intervention backfired when Riley's friends realized they couldn't actually defend Riley's behavior. Most of them had watched her take me for granted too, and a few admitted privately that they thought Chloe was the better choice. But Karen wasn't done. She tried to get David to forbid our relationship, threatening to leave him if he didn't choose Riley over Chloe. That was her biggest mistake yet. If you want to throw away 25 years of marriage because you can't handle one of our daughters finding happiness, that's your choice, David told her. But I'm not going to punish Chloe for Riley's mistakes. Dylan's reaction was immediate and intense. David chose Chloe. He basically told Karen to pack her bags if she can't handle reality. This man is a legend. I want to buy him a drink and shake his hand. David started including me and Chloe in family events again, despite Karen's protests. Sunday dinners, birthday celebrations, holiday gatherings. We were welcome, and he made sure everyone knew it. Dylan invited himself to one of these family dinners, claiming he needed to witness the drama firsthand for historical documentation purposes. David actually seemed to enjoy his running commentary on Karen's passive-aggressive behavior. You're still family to me, he told me privately during that dinner. You were a son to me for 3 years, and that doesn't change because Riley screwed up. Now you might actually become my son-in-law for real, with a daughter who has enough sense to appreciate you. The last conversation I had with Riley was at one of these family dinners. Karen had spent the whole meal making passive-aggressive comments about loyalty and family betrayal. Riley finally cornered me in the kitchen while everyone else was having dessert. Dylan had positioned himself at the kitchen doorway, like some kind of bodyguard, pretending to help clear dishes, while obviously eavesdropping. I can't believe you're doing this to me, she said, tears streaming down her face. You planned this whole thing just to hurt me. Dylan was making wrap-it-up gestures behind Riley's back, clearly enjoying the drama but also ready to intervene if needed. Your sister didn't steal anything, I told her. She just found me where you left me. And honestly, maybe if you'd spent less time looking for someone better and more time appreciating what you had, we wouldn't be here. I never said I didn't appreciate you, she protested. You said you were waiting for someone better. Your mom was in the room cheering you on. I heard the whole thing. I didn't mean it like that, she whispered. Yes, you did. And that's okay. You had every right to keep your options open. You just didn't have the right to keep me as a backup plan while you did it. Dylan gave me a subtle thumbs up from the doorway. That was the last real conversation we ever had. It's been 8 months now, and things with Chloe are solid. Not perfect. No relationship is. But real in a way things with Riley never were. We moved slowly, partly because of the family drama, and partly because I needed time to trust my own judgment again. Dylan takes full credit for our relationship's success, obviously. I've been the third wheel, therapist, moving company, and security detail for this whole operation. You two owe me a wedding invitation and an open bar. Riley finally gave up on the apartment after 5 months. Couldn't handle the financial stress anymore and moved back in with her parents. She tried to get me to pay some kind of penalty for leaving her stranded, but legally she had no case. She'd signed the paperwork, I'd followed the rules. End of story. The ironic part is that moving back home put Riley right back under Karen's control, which she quickly learned to hate. Karen treated her like a teenager again. Curfews, questions about where she was going, criticism of her spending habits. The independence Riley had taken for granted was gone. She's miserable, David told me during one of our fishing trips. Karen's driving her crazy with the helicopter parenting, but Riley can't afford to move out on her own. Sometimes consequences are the best teachers. Chloe and Riley's relationship is slowly improving, but it took some hard conversations. Karen, on the other hand, is still bitter. She tolerates me at family events because David made it clear her alternative was spending holidays alone, but she makes her displeasure known through passive-aggressive comments and dramatic sighs. Dylan has made it his personal mission to annoy Karen at every family gathering. He shows up with flowers for Chloe, compliments on David's cooking, and completely ignores Karen's existence. It's petty and beautiful. Some people never learn, Chloe says about her mom. She's more upset about being wrong than she is about almost losing both her daughters over it. The best part came about 6 months after everything went down. Riley started dating this guy Brandon, who seemed perfect on paper. Good job, nice car, took her to expensive restaurants. Karen loved him immediately and kept making comments about how this is the kind of man Riley deserves. He lasted exactly 2 months before he got tired of Riley's high-maintenance attitude and Karen's constant interference. He broke up with her via text message and started dating one of Riley's co-workers within a week. The damage to Riley's ego was severe. Here was the someone better she'd been waiting for, and he'd treated her like she was disposable. Meanwhile, I was building something real with Chloe. with David's full support and approval. Chloe, being the better person, actually tried to comfort her sister instead of saying, "I told you so." But privately, she admitted the vindication felt pretty good. We moved in together last month, found a nice place that we actually chose together, instead of settling for what we could afford separately. No drama, no big declarations, just a practical decision that felt right. David helped us move, which drove Karen insane. Dylan organized the entire move like a military operation. He showed up with a truck, a cooler full of drinks, and a playlist called Moving Day Victory Lap. He also brought a sign that said "Upgrade Complete" and hung it in our new living room. "You're choosing them over your own daughter," she accused David. "I'm choosing the couple that's actually happy and stable over the daughter who's still looking for someone to blame for her problems," he replied. Dylan was recording this conversation on his phone for posterity and nearly gave himself away trying not to laugh. Riley heard about our move through the family grapevine and sent me one last text. "Hope you're happy." I am, actually. Not because I'm trying to prove anything or get revenge or whatever Karen thinks is happening. I'm happy because I found someone who chose me without hesitation. Someone who saw my worth without needing to compare it to other options. The engagement ring I'd been saving for? I returned it months ago and got my money back. But I've started looking at rings again. This time for someone who won't need to think about it when I ask. David's already given me his blessing, and he seems more excited about the prospect than Karen ever was. Dylan has already started planning his best man speech. Apparently it involves a PowerPoint presentation about how to dodge bullets and find upgrades, with before and after photos of my life. I hope he's joking. Riley kept her doors open, waiting for someone better to walk through. Turns out someone better was already in the building. She just wasn't looking in the right direction. And while she was busy window shopping, she lost the guy who was ready for marriage. Karen's still convinced I'm some master manipulator who orchestrated this whole thing to hurt Riley. The truth is simpler. I just stopped accepting less than I was worth. Sometimes the best revenge is just letting people deal with the consequences of their own choices while you build something better with someone who actually wants to be there.